Coming up on Unwritten, how have you reconciled your sexuality and your faith in life?
Instead of leading with love, you came in and you scared the hell out of me, and now I'm uncomfortable being around you, and I don't trust anything that you have to tell me at this point. I was praying before we did this today, and I was like, I just want someone to hear what we're saying, or what I say, or read what I say in the book, and I want them to find peace in themselves if that's what they're struggling with. I was in emotional pain every single day because I knew that this was who I was, but I had been constantly being slapped in the face with, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong.
Who's Scooby?
So, Scooby is what my family calls me. I grew up, apparently, I enjoyed watching the show Scooby-Doo when I was a kid. And, but funny enough, when I was in my crib, my dad wanted to call me Scooter because I would scoot in my crib all the time. But when he saw me watching Scooby-Doo and like loving the cartoon, they just started to call me Scooby. And also I had another cousin who was called Scooter. So Scooby is the person that my family really knows very, very well. Because if you remember, nobody in the Navy ever called me that. Nobody ever called me Scooby.
Yeah, I think that's the first time I ever heard of it. It's in your book.
Yeah, because I don't introduce myself as Scooby to anybody. That's just a family thing. And I think that was why I chose to use that in the title of the book, because it gives two distinct personalities. And it also gives a parallel to how you guys in the public, general people know me, and how my family knows me. And I thought that worked perfectly to do it that way.
How would you characterize the difference between who Scooby is versus who Korrenzo Smith is now today?
Well, today they're much more similar than they used to be. I think Scooby was the person who was trying to figure out who he was. He was, and I talk about this in the book a lot, how I didn't really know where I fit in, and how I didn't know how to be the person everybody was always telling me I should be. You can't behave this way, you can't behave that way, you can't do this, you can't do that. So Scooby had a lot of conflicts in trying to figure out who he actually was. But once I kind of left home, I could really just step into who I was. And I think Korrenzo is the version of me that did that. I didn't introduce myself to everybody as Scooby, not because of, not for any particular reason, but just because I didn't want people to know me as who my family knew me as. I wanted to be known as Korrenzo. That's what my name is, and that this is who you all are going to get to know. And I could be the gay man that I wanted to be. I could be whoever. And you've known me for a long time. So I think I've been the same person since you first met me. And whether that was me being flamboyant, whether that was me being a kind person, whether that was me cursing at somebody, whatever the case was, it was just me being myself and owning who that person was. And I think it's very important to do that. I just wish that I had the opportunity to do that when I was younger and not as I got older. But everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, you said there's a power in speaking our truths, even when, or especially when, that truth makes us vulnerable.
Absolutely. So I can, and my husband has always told me this, babe, it's almost like you don't tell me what you're feeling. You don't tell me what you're thinking. And the reason that I've kind of shied away from that is because it is a vulnerable thing. It opens you up to being hurt when you're vulnerable about what you feel. When you say that certain things scare you, or when you say that certain things bother you, well, what are people going to do? Use that against you? At least that's what my first husband did. And I talk about that in the book. I talk about that in the book too, how, my family would use certain things to control us, whether that be religion or things that they've given us. And my ex-husband was the same way. He would do certain things, and when he would get angry, oh, well, I'm not going to do this for you anymore. I'm not going to do that. Or remember when you told me this, and now I'm going to use that against you. People have done that. And so as a way
as ammunition.
Absolutely. And as a way to protect ourselves, or me as a way to protect myself, I learned to stop sharing everything because I didn't want to give anybody keys to hurt me. But now I understand, as an old person, because I'm about to be 40, now I understand that now I understand that being vulnerable is power, because when you control your narrative and when you control your own truth, nobody can use it against you. And I wanted to share that with everyone in my own way.
And how does that look like now?
Oh, now I'm not scared. I'm not scared of anything. It's all in here. I mean, everything
Fearless.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, literally, I'm the person where what you see is what you get. I'm not gonna lie. I am not going to hide anything. This is just me, but it makes life easier for me.
Yeah, it's liberating, I think.
It is, and the only bad part about really telling all of your truth is sometimes it does put people in different classes as it comes to you as a person. So people that you thought were really close to you may not actually support everything that you are and everything that you do. And you have to be ready for that. Some things you might lose when you tell your full truth, and that's okay. Because you always have those people that 100% support you that are right over here behind you.
A big part of your book was that I noticed is, accountability and acknowledging what you have to work on and boundaries. A question I wanted to ask you was that I think a lot of people struggle with that would consider themselves Christian, at least. How have you reconciled your sexuality and your faith in life?
Yeah. Oh, that's a really loaded question. Well, first, I had to step away from religion because, again, that was an arena where people were just telling me, you can't be this, you can't be gay, you can't be with someone, you have to marry a woman. And over the years, I've seen a lot of gay men marry women because of that. But marrying a woman wouldn't have made me any less gay.
Yeah.
Like, I would have still been a gay man.
Yeah, I have that's why it resonates so much with me, because I have a family member in that, like, same scenario. It's like your whole life you were attracted to men, but now you are, like, quote, born again, and it's blasphemous, and you're going to hell, and now it's like it almost seems like a coping mechanism to not be who you are.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
So even before I get back to the religious aspect of that, just going into the human part of it, that's where I wanted to start. I didn't want to marry a woman, be with her for 10 years or 20 years, 30 years. We have kids. And now Daddy's 55 and he's going to live with Uncle Johnny because they've been sleeping together privately for the last 30 years. And also, if you're in all seriousness, if you're going to be honest, if I had done that, I'm still lying. If we're going to call it, if we're going to
Yeah.
call homosexuality a sin, I'm still living a lie every single day because I'm lying about who I am, not just to all of
Yeah.
you, but to my wife. I'm literally going to bed with her every single night and lying to her. Not that I don't love her, but this is not who I've told her that I am. And then I'm lying to the kids. Like, daddy isn't who you say he is. And I'm not proud to say it, but I tell it in the book. I've been involved with men who were like this. And it's like, I never wanted to one day wake up and have to explain to my wife and kids, by the way, I'm a gay man and I'm leaving all of you to go be with this man. It was just never something I wanted to do. So I'd rather lose the people now than hurt everybody later. And coming out kept me from having to do that. If I go into the religious, how reconciling that with my Christianity, the way that I was able to see it, and people may agree with this, they may not. It's, that's their business. But to me, the main commandments that Jesus Christ gave us is to love God above all others and to love my neighbor as myself. If I do those two things, obviously I'm not going to be perfect. None of us are. But if I do those two things, that is what I need to do to honor him. As for everything else, you do the best you can. But because I don't feel that my sexuality was a choice, and because I know that my relationship with my husband is based and rooted in love, then that's how I reconcile the two. That's how I do it. I can't speak for how anybody else does it, but that's how I do it. And that's how I found peace. And that was important to me.
What would you tell somebody who's currently in the weeds of that struggle, that is struggling with their faith and their sexuality and feeling shame or guilt?
Well, I mean, I've been through that. The first thing that I would tell them, you have to step away from everybody. You're going to have people on this side telling you, it's okay, be who you are, be who you are. And you're going to have people on this side saying, that's not okay, don't be who you are. Both sides can become deafening at times because you've got everybody shouting at you. You got people from all walks of life. Some people telling you it's okay, some people telling you it's not. Some people telling you just marry a woman. Some people telling you just marry a man. Some people telling you just be celibate. Well, that's not fair. Everybody wants to have something and someone in their life. So you have to learn to shut all the voices off. And you have to learn to listen to God for yourself. And I will tell you what saved me. And I talk about this in the book as well. I found a church that I went to where that was the very first time that I was accepted in a religious setting. That was a game changer for me.
Yeah.
I had never even thought a church like that would exist. But it did. And it was a Southern Baptist church. And they were like, come on in, join us, make yourself at home. And I did. And they fed me and treated me like I was, their own relative. And I'm still close to all those people to this day.
Yeah, it's just so odd when people of a certain faith say, thou shalt not judge. But then
they judge
do exactly
right after
that.
And the funny thing about that is, people feel that, because what's the other, people feel that they can judge because, well, I'm doing it because the Bible says I can. The Bible literally tells you not to. You just said it, but you went ahead and did it anyway. And instead of leading with love, you came in and you scared the hell out of me. And now I'm uncomfortable being around you. And I don't trust anything that you have to tell me at this point. So anything else you want to tell me about Jesus, it's not going to land with me because you've told me that who I am as an individual is wrong.
It's not okay, yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing that I can hear from you at that point. So,
well, one saying I'm always reminded of is, we were made in the image of God. So when you really think about that, that includes everyone.
You know, I
No
and
matter
so
your definition, sexuality. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
But it's so funny that you say that. Ray and I were just talking about that this morning, and everybody's image of God is different. We're all going to see that image differently.
Mm,
And whether that's a physical form or whether that's a concept, we're all going to have a different view of what that is. And I think it's important for us to acknowledge that. We're not all going to see God the same. We're not all going to feel Him and experience Him the same. And we shouldn't, because we're all different.
mm-hmm.
But what we need to be able to do is respect how we all see and experience and feel Him. And that's important. As I was praying before we did this today, and I was like, I just want someone to hear what we're saying or what I say or read what I say in the book, and I want them to find peace in themselves if that's what they're struggling with. And my last part of that prayer was, and God, I want you to show them that. I don't want it to be based on what I feel. Show them who you are for yourself, because I already have Him in here. I just want them to see Him for who He is for themselves. And that's really what the overall
Yeah, I'm
goal
always
is.
reminded of. Yeah, like when I think of concepts like that, I'm always thinking of the let go and let God.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, some
And
people
that's,
don't really know what that means, but yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, that's a very common phrase that a lot of us say, but like you're saying, a lot of us don't know how. Oh, it's like, oh, I'm going to pray about this. And when you pray about something, what are you supposed to do? You're not supposed to really worry about it anymore. Because if you've prayed and given it to Him,
yeah.
you're supposed to trust that He's going to take care of it. But as soon as we finish praying, it's like, oh God, I'm just so stressed. I can't get out of it. Like, then you haven't let go and you haven't let God. You prayed, which was nice, but you didn't do either one of those things. So, but it's something that you have to learn. Experience teaches us to let go and let God. And look at how you did it. You were like, I think I want to do this podcast thing and I want to share my story with everybody. And I listened to that first one and you were like, I'm just telling my story. I got out of the Navy. This is how I'm providing for my family. And I was like, he just stepped out there and just did this. And now look at where you are now. Like, you're doing your thing and it's growing. And that's letting go and letting God do it. It is.
Yeah, I always explain it. To people like that aren't really religious or have any faith as just, trusting that the work that you're doing is going to have an impact, and just trust the process, do what you enjoy doing and just trust the process. Trust it's going to work out.
Absolutely. I wanted to write this book, I want to say I'm 39 now, since I was about 25, I've wanted to do this all this time. And I was but I was scared because obviously the first question is, what is everybody going to say? Like when I put all this in there, and there's some things I didn't say, but what are people going to think? What are they going to say? So that was the first thing. And then the second thing was, well, what if nobody buys it? Like, what if nobody cares? And then the third thing was, well,
how many people are actually going to read it?
Exactly.
They say the average American only reads one book a year.
Yeah.
So,
but I remember telling myself when I first started, and I wouldn't have done it if Ray hadn't kept encouraging me. He's like, babe, if you want to do this, you need to start doing it now. And so I did. But I remember thinking, just as I finished it, and this is written in here as well, if this book helps one person, then I've done my job. I've done exactly what I wanted it to do. If one person, one stranger, somebody I know says, I was dealing with something similar and this helped me, then it was worth it. It was worth all the time. It was worth all the years that I waited to even do it, because it happened in the time that it was supposed to.
Well, there was a big part of it where I learned something, because the whole sexuality thing, people still don't really understand if it's like nature versus nurture. But you wrote specifically in there that, you know, you didn't choose it.
No, no,
And
and
that really resonated with me. Yeah.
I can say that with confidence. Well, I mean, and you've heard this before, but you didn't choose to be a straight man, right?
That's exactly my point. Is like, if we I was thinking like somebody who's grown up in the church and feels that they are homosexual, they innately feel some sort of guilt or shame just for being who they are. Imagine if the roles were reversed for just being who you are, for being straight.
Yeah, and
It would
I talk
feel
about
bad. It
that.
would feel horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, I realized that I was different. I said around like 10, but all throughout my life, all I had ever heard was, oh, lesbianism, homosexuality, it's you're gonna go straight to hell. I
Mm-hmm.
bore that pain until I came out. Like living this my entire life in secret for what was that, like 9 years until I was 19. I was in emotional pain every single day because I knew that this was who I was, but I had been constantly being slapped in the face with that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And what it feels like you're trying to hide yourself with a clear jacket where you're wearing the jacket but everybody can see underneath and you're worried how much can everyone see because you can't hide it. People know you can't hide it, so you're wearing this jacket for no reason, but you're wearing
Yeah.
it anyway because you want to hide who you are as best as you can. And that's what it felt like.
Man.
I
Yeah.
always felt like everybody can see straight through me, but I'm gonna try to hide this anyway. And that didn't get me anywhere. As you can
Even
see,
your family.
my parents always knew. I believe that everybody knew. I remember, and I talk about the lady in church, and I don't know how, you're probably going to get into different things from the book later, but the lady in
That
church,
part. No,
when
I
I
read
was
that
like,
part.
yeah, she's telling me how I should clap my hands. I was like every bit of like 6 years old. And so she could even see it
That's
then.
crazy.
And but what that
Yeah.
did was instead of me growing, it snatched me back and I was frozen emotionally and scared at that point. So now I really have to wear this jacket because I don't want people to think he's different or he's, doing something that makes him a target.
Yeah, that's what I was saying is like the toxic side of church and authoritarianism or whatever you want to call it. And it's like, no, you should act this way, you should do this. And it's crazy because here in Texas, they actually passed, well, I don't know if they passed a law, but they were trying to pass a law where they put all of the 10 Commandments in elementary schools. And I was just like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, the reason I'm not okay with that is because if someone comes along and says we want to put the Quran in school, somebody's going to have an issue with that. And
Yeah.
the way that I see this is if you're not a Christian, I'm okay with that. That's fine. I respect all religions. I personally believe it's important for everyone to believe in something that gives you strength when you run out. So if you're a Muslim, if you are into Buddhism, if you are into, if you're a Wiccan, whatever gives you strength, because I think where a lot of us get lost is when we run out of ideas, we run out of coping mechanisms, and what do? We freak out because we have nothing else to depend on. Obviously, for me and for you, it's prayer. We know that we can go in prayer and God is going to come and help us in some way. We trust and believe in that. That's what keeps me going. And when you've got nothing left, then you do something drastic that's probably going to hurt someone else. So I just believe that if we're going to have the 10 Commandments or any form of Christianity represented in schools, allow other people to bring their own religions in. And if we can't do that, I don't believe we should have any of them there.
Yeah, it's when it gets to me, the problem is when it gets dogmatic, where it's like, this is the only thing you should learn. And it's like, what makes that different than North Korea? Where it's
Absolutely.
like, this is it. Like, Kim Jong-un is God. And it's like,
Yeah.
what makes that different, you know?
Yeah. And I remember the church that I talk about in the book. It's called New Mount Zion Baptist Church. And the pastor of that church, he even had Muslim friends come and visit church. And he would tell us, from the pulpit, I want my friends over here to stand up. They're of the Muslim faith, but they came to visit us today. That doesn't happen in a lot of churches. And we need more of that, because what it shows us is that other people's religions and cultures are important. I don't have to go to your church and say that I'm a believer of that, but it allows us the opportunity to recognize that other religions exist and that those people value their religion just as much as we do. And we can respect that. And then we all can go get something to eat afterwards. It's not that big a deal. We don't have to shame them and be like, I can't believe you're a Muslim and you're this. Okay, so she's a Muslim. Okay, big deal. But I love that about him. I love that. I thought it was great.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, one of my favorite poets has a poem that says, all religions share one thing in common, and that's to love. And but love has no religion.
That's dope. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought, you sent me down a wormhole for a second. I've never thought about that. Because who owns love, right? None of us do.
Nobody. Yeah.
But if we all have it, then we're all going to treat each other well.
Yeah.
Regardless
and respect each other. Yeah.
Yeah, regardless of what makes us different, we're all going to have it, and we're all going to treat each other well, and everything will make a lot more sense. But, sometimes it doesn't.
You said true healing takes acknowledging our role in the story of our own lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like to say this. In our story, we all like to see ourselves as the hero. But we're not. There were times that
journey.
But there were times when we weren't the hero. There are things that we've done that are wrong. There are things we've said that are wrong. There are times when we have literally done people badly, but we find a way to justify it so that we don't look like the bad guy in our own story. But I've not always done everything right. I've not always treated everyone the way that I should have. I've not always said the right things. But if you don't take accountability for your role in things that happen in your life, you can't heal. I could never heal if I just sit and blame my ex-husband for everything that happened. I did things that were wrong too. I said things that were mean to him. I cheated on him. I didn't leave when I was supposed to. I can own all of that because that contributed to the breakdown of our relationship. Even in coming out, over the years, maybe I should have just not said anything to my family to give us all time to grow and understand what was going on. But instead, I kept reaching back and reaching back and reaching back. And every time I got hurt, I kept saying, well, they just aren't going to accept me. They just aren't going to accept me. Instead of saying, you know what, you guys, this is where I am. I'm going to separate myself from you all just for a time. So you guys have time to digest. I will be here if you ever want to reach out to me. Instead of doing that, I kept trying to make them see it, make them see it, make them see it. They weren't going to. I feel like that was my contribution to them in my own way. And obviously it didn't work because we're still not as close as we should be, but it's where we are.
You're talking about your family?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. More so my immediate family, my parents and my siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a part in your book where I laughed out loud.
Oh, gosh.
You were contemplating a life of eternal damnation because you were, because you knew you were gay, and somebody said, or you said, it's like being slapped in the proverbial spiritual ass and going on your merry way to heaven.
Well, what I was doing was I was trying to show that, like, in church, especially, and all my perspective is from the black church, obviously, because that's where I've been my entire life. But in the black church, everything that we do as people is kind of like, you kind of get a slap on the spiritual ass and you get to go on, right? Because, you know, you come in, you're a drug addict, you can give up drugs and God will forgive you, and you go on and everything's fine. If you beat your wife, you can stop hitting that lady and you forgive her, you stay married and you go on. Or you cheat on that woman or you cheat on that man, you stop doing it and you go on. But if you're gay, you're going to hell. Like, there ain't no spiritual ass whooping for that.
Yeah.
You're just going to hell. And I was like,
no
okay.
redemption.
Right. Now it's kind of changed where, you know, God can stop it. He can take you away from it. But if it's just who you are, then how does he take you away from it? So, and people would disagree with this. I don't have an issue with that.
They
will
say
definitely
pray
disagree.
the gay away. You heard that before?
And but and in a lot of cases that leads to lot of that opens the door to so many other things. There are people that have tried that have committed suicide, that have done so many things because they're literally starting to lie to themselves about who they are and they can't find peace. And that's not everybody. That's just certain cases.
I mean, there are a family member like that.
Yeah, there are people that have gone to those camps where they've, like, you know, electrocuted them, and they've, you know, the shock therapy is what it's called, and just different things
like
to
reprogramming your mind.
Yes, and it's been shown that this does not work, but there are people that are willing to do it. And my dad even said that to me when I came out. I could have gotten you some help, and I was like, no, you could not have gotten me any help. But I don't. And we talked about this already. If you didn't choose to be a straight man, there was no reason for me to choose to be straight. And who would choose to be gay anyway? First of all, you gotta live with another man. Like, men stink. Like, like, you know, not all of us are like the cleanest people. You're gonna live with another man. Like, who would choose that? They're
not all hygienic.
Yeah, like, who's choosing that? And, you know, it's, but then outside of the funny stuff, who would choose to live this life where, you know, there's already a set group of people that are against you just for who you are? No one's willing. I don't know many people that would choose that just to choose it. I mean, everybody would choose to have the easier life if they could. But,
well, one of the biggest arguments I hear for Christians about homosexuality is it stops procreation.
Well, I mean, they're still making gay people, so I don't know if I agree with that. I disagree with that. Because everybody's not gay. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean, if there's a problem with procreation, talk to the straight people about that. The gays don't have nothing to do with it. I mean, in fact, gays are trying to adopt kids because there's so many that don't have homes. Is procreation really an issue?
Yeah, so many people are choosing not to have kids now too. I think, like, statistically it shows like more people are just like, I just want to be free, not have kids. And I'm like, well, you could still be free and have kids.
Well, I think outside of that, kids are expensive and living is expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
And now our parents came up in a time where you could buy a moderately sized home for much cheaper than you can now. So where are you going to house all these kids when you have them and you can only afford a 2-bedroom apartment? Like, how does that work? And then you throw on top of that, people have this, there's the student loan debt crisis, and there's, you know, the ever rising cost of rent. And then there's so many, right now the government's shut down. I don't want to have no child right now. So it's like, There are so many things that are going on that get in the way, and people are just like, I can barely afford to take care of myself. I can't
That's
afford to
true.
take care of
Yeah.
more people. So I understand it. I don't think that people being gay is affecting procreation. But again, that's a straight people's conversation. So I'll let you guys handle that one because I'm not involved.
There was a part in your book where you said you had talked to your therapist, and she said when you talk to your family, your expectation is for them to accept you as you are, but maybe look at it as you have to accept them as they are.
Yeah. So I remember during this time when I just couldn't seem. At one point, this whole thing with my family was starting to affect me so much mentally. I had to seek help because I couldn't put it together on my own. And it was one of those moments where it felt like no matter how successful I became in my career, no matter, you know, what I was able to do, how much of the world I was able to see, it was never enough for them to see me as like, okay, well, even though he's gay, he's still doing great things. Because a part of me was looking for validation even from that. And I was like, nothing matters to these people. And so I was like, I have to talk to somebody because I don't know what else to do. And this therapist and I, he was Methodist. Excuse me. And typically in the Methodist church, they're much more accepting. And he told me once, he said, he said, what you need to do is stop looking at them and expecting them to change. He said, because you're expecting them to change and they're expecting you to be different. You guys are not going to get anywhere. He said, what you need to do is look at them and change your expectation. What can you expect from them that can work? And my answer to him was, I expect that they're not going to change. And he said, okay. So why do you keep expecting them to change if you know they're not going to? And I stopped for a moment and I remember, and it was a video call, and I looked at him and I was like, that was the simplest thing I've ever heard, and it made the most sense ever. And he said, if they're not going to change, don't go to them with the intention of changing them. He said, now, what this means is that you probably can't do anything more than what you've already done. That has to be enough. And from that moment on, I was free because this is how they see me. I can be good with that. I will be here if you ever change, but I'm not trying to press it anymore because I like who I am. In fact, I love who I am. So I can accept the fact that you guys are where you are. Now, what that did mean was I'm not chasing you all to change anymore. What it means is I can sit in my joy now without needing to share it with you. And that created conflict as well. Because one thing that I've learned, and this might be a long-winded answer, one thing I've learned is that it bothers people when you learn to embrace your joy and it's not what they expect and it's not what they want for you. Sometimes minding your business drives people insane. And I remember...
I wonder why.
Because there's no control. They can't control the narrative. They can't get you to do what they want you to do. And I remember and this happened, I want to say 6 months ago. I'm just sitting here, not chasing my family anymore. And my dad called me, and I talk about this in the audiobook, which should be coming out, I want to say, within a month or so. But my dad called me.
I want to hear that one too.
Yeah, so in the audiobook, I give some commentary that's not in the written book. But he called me and he said, what does it take?
Exclusive.
Yeah, the uncut. Well, it's not. Well, there is a little bit more cursing, but but he said to me, he said, I want to know. Yeah, he said, I want to know what it takes to get my son back. And my answer to him was, and my answer to him was, Dad, I don't need anything. I said, if you guys want to have a relationship with me, I am open to it. I'm here, but I don't need you to do anything. I'm a whole person already. I am 100% whole. I don't need any validation. I don't need any love. I don't need any of that because I have it. I gave it to myself. And then now, thankfully, to add on to it, I have my husband. And I was like, and I have a relationship with God. So I have to treat you guys like I would treat anyone else. If you're good with me, great. But if you're not, that's also fine. That's your business. So whatever you guys need is up to you. I don't need anything from you. And I really haven't heard much from him since then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you're okay with that, but they probably aren't. You think?
I'm okay. I have to be okay with it because it's kind of like chasing somebody for a romantic relationship where you know it's not working. You know this person is not giving you what you need. You know they're not going to offer you anything more than what they already have, but you're still like, oh, I'm still going to do this for you. I'm still going to buy this for you. I'm going to do more. I'm going to do more. Eventually you're going to love me. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. When instead that one day where you look up and you go, you know what? I'm good on this. I'm okay. And you leave the relationship, then what do? They come running behind you. Oh, I missed my chance. Oh, I missed this. I missed that. Now, I'm not going to say it's the exact same with my family, but it's the nature of people. When someone stops chasing us and looking for something from us, now we're chasing them because, oh, wait. I was wrong. The door's still open. I'm never going to shut the door on my family. I would never do that. That would be unchristian-like, right? But I'm not going to... I'm not going to keep trying to kick their door down. It is what it is. I love myself. God loves me. And that's enough.
Yeah, that story just... Every time I hear stories like that feel like you don't know what to do or you're out of control, your story reminded me of the Serenity Prayer. Do you know the Serenity Prayer?
Absolutely. And, I honestly hadn't thought about that while I was writing the book, but I didn't know how to accept the things I couldn't change. I was going to make them change. And, but instead, once I talked to that therapist, I got the peace that prayer references and that it looks forward to the entire time. Which also, by the way, everybody should have a therapist. Like, everybody needs one. We all need somebody to talk to that is unrelated, unbiased, somebody who's going to tell you that you're
unbiased.
wrong. Yes. And somebody who simply wants to be compensated for their services. That everybody needs that. We all do. Absolutely.
Yeah, the problem with that is a lot of people think, something must be wrong with me to go to a therapist.
Well, it is. I mean, you have to look at it
or
from
like
that
I'm
point
crazy or something,
But you have to look at it from that point of view because we don't have it all right. We don't know everything. We don't all know how to deal with all the trauma, which we all have, that we've been through. And sometimes you just need someone who doesn't know you, who's not going to tell you some cliche, some statement that we've heard a million times. And this is why I say even people in church need a therapist. We all need someone who can just help us tie things together. It doesn't have to be a lifelong thing, but it's just like a trip to the doctor. We go annually to get our heart checked, our lungs, our joints. Why not have your mind checked too? That's just as important as everything else that we use on a daily basis. And if we can go get all that, get our teeth cleaned every 6 months, why can't we check in once a year with a therapist just to say, you know what, I just want to get some stuff off my chest and I don't want to tell anyone else. What's wrong with that?
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Is there any trauma or anything that you still think about often?
Often, I wouldn't say so much. A lot of it I've kind of unpacked. I unpacked most of it in the book. Being molested at 16, that was weird. Not just because, you don't
is that when your
did.
pastor told you to get naked?
Yeah, he's like, yeah, just take off your clothes. I just want to feel, just around your
That's
waist
just
and this
so
and that.
awkward. I
It
feel.
was it was weird, and by that time I knew I was gay, but I remember thinking to myself like, this isn't okay. Like, this is one of my dad's friends, and this is inappropriate. This is
And
I
hypocritical too.
yeah, and 16, you're still a kid. I don't care how much people expect of 16-year-olds. When I
Yeah.
left that experience and I was driving home, I wasn't like crying or anything, but in my head I was like, I can't tell anyone because he's gonna make it seem like I'm lying, and then it's
Then you look
then
crazy.
and also I was still hiding who I was, so if I tell this, what
Yeah.
else are they gonna ask me? So I didn't know what to do with that. And
Mm,
it was a situation where I learned that men in power will do things and hold it against you, or they will use that power against you. And I learned more of that later as more of the ministers tried to sleep with me as I got older. But I wish that there had been somebody I could talk to at the time. I think that's probably the only thing about that trauma that really makes me sad, because the 16-year-old in me that went through that dealt with it on his own. And that was unfortunate.
let's say a 16-year-old was listening to this podcast right now. What would you tell them?
If that's happened to them,
Yeah.
if that's happened to them, I would find someone, even if it's a friend, and the situation for that 16-year-old may be different. Kids are able to come out a little bit younger now, but now there's so many other ways to express yourself. There's social media, there's message boards, there's BetterHelp, which will help you find a therapist if you can't afford one. There's always a way to find someone to talk to, but small things like that can snowball into bigger things, and it almost happened for me.
Yeah.
Because I think because of that, even though I knew I was already gay, I think that drove me further toward looking to older men to be with, because I wanted someone to protect me. I wanted someone to keep me safe, because I felt like I couldn't do it on my own. And that led me through a whole horrible marriage with someone that was older than me. So when you don't really deal with those things and you don't unpack them, I think you end up in other situations that you shouldn't have. So find somebody to talk to, whoever that person may be. That would be my advice to that 16-year-old. Yeah.
How are you now? How are you
Oh,
doing?
great. I'm great. Dude, I'm so happy now. Like, I'm happy that this is done. Like, this is out. Like, this little book is like, I'm so proud of it, because the story means a lot to me. And reading it again last week for the audiobook, I saw it differently. I saw myself differently. And it's a blessing to be able to survive all your trauma. And I wasn't like beat and raped and horribly and things like that. There are people with much worse stories than mine. But I do feel like my story matters, because I was fortunate enough to go through those situations, come through them, and find myself on the other side. So no matter what anybody's situation might be, there is the chance to be able to do that. I think that the fact that my story includes a relationship with God is just as important, because there are a lot of gay people who don't know that they can have that. They don't feel they should have that.
Yeah.
They've been taught that,
Or they feel like they need to change themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we can still have that. There's no one who can tell us that we can't be people who love God, and that we can't be people who love Jesus. Because who the hell are you to tell me that? Like, I can, and I will.
I think that's a individual relationship. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I wanted to be just some sort of beacon that told people that they can have both. Find your way, no matter what it is. So, to answer your question, I'm great now. I'm happy. I'm super happy. I am. I'm happy, dude.
I feel like you got another book in you down the road.
Yeah, but I don't think the next one will be about me. I don't want to talk about myself again. Like, I'm still a very, I mean, I'm an open book,
Enough
obviously,
talking about you.
but I would rather write. I would
Yeah.
rather write more stories that impact my community. I would love to write a gay love story one day. I would love to write. I don't know. You know, I would love for this to be like some kind of film. Like, even if it's a short film, I think that'd be awesome. You never know. We never know what can come of our work or come of our expression. It could be anything. I don't know what God has in store for me, but I do know that I was destined to do this, and now that I've done it, I feel like I did it when I was supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't rush certain things in life.
Yeah, even though I've tried. I think we all have.
Is there anything you'd like to share with somebody listening that you'd like to express right now?
Oh, wow. So I'm not a fan of the phrase, it gets better. It just gets better. Because you might not be at that place where it gets better yet. For me, it took me a while. For me, it didn't get better until I turned about 37, 38. My hope is that for everybody else or anybody that's listening to this, that they find a way to start driving toward things getting better. Find someone to speak to. Find something to believe in if you don't have it. And even if you're a person that was raised in church and you've always felt like the church has been damaging for you, especially with the way things are now in our political climate and in, you know, just the world might just feel like it's in shambles. And I think everybody's trying to find their way through all of this. But I believe sometimes you just have to sit and just tell God, you know what, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. I need you to help me. Even just saying that is just a start. It's just the start of it all.
Yeah.
You know, you might not even know enough about religion or Christianity to call on Jesus Christ himself. But if you just look up one day or you're just laying in bed and you say, God, today was just terrible. I need help. Sometimes that's the spark that you need. It's what's gotten me through many days. It's gotten me through a lot. And I don't want gay people to feel like we can't be Christian or that we can't have any religion. Because a lot of religions are pretty anti-gay. Yeah, that you got to be celibate. Because then you want to tell the truth, most of us ain't going to be celibate anyway. You might as well tell the truth and keep it 100. We're not going to be. But you know what? I think the better way for me to say all of this is to say that you don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be perfect. Because the people that are telling us we can't be who we are aren't perfect either. Everybody has on an invisible jacket of some sort. Everybody's trying to hide something that they don't want everybody else to see. It might not be as big and clear as being gay, but it's something. And knowing that, it's like, well, I don't have anything to be ashamed of. And I think that's probably what interfered with my family the most. Because I think my dad would have been able to accept it a lot more if I wasn't so out and so proud. But because I don't hide who I am, it's the first thing he thinks about. If that makes sense. Which, I mean, sucks for him. But
yeah, and I think well, I think that is often when we feel a certain type of way about other people, the way I look at it is, you know, that's an opportunity for me to look at something within myself to work on, because it's like, why am I feeling this whatever just not good feeling about this situation, that's an opportunity for you to reflect on your own personal journey.
Absolutely. Why does this bother me so much? And I want to say this. I have to say this. I love my family. I love my father. I love, like, if you saw in the book, I have a picture of him and me, and I say me and my daddy, because I love my dad. My dad took care of us. He taught me a lot about life. But I also had to learn to love myself outside of that. So you can have boundaries without, you don't have to hate anybody, but you got to protect yourself.
Yeah.
It's important to have boundaries with everybody. It is. You have to be able to establish a place for yourself where you feel emotionally safe in every situation. Whether that's church, whether that's, your family, whether that's your marriage, whether that's your friendships. And I think that's why I broke the book down the way that I did. It's how I did establish boundaries in every situation, every aspect of life that I have. These are the most important aspects of life for me. Family, church, the Navy, travel, the world, my husband. These are the things, these are the spaces where I exist. But how do I compartmentalize all those spaces? And how do I navigate my way through each one of them? And that's how I did that in this book. And I encourage everybody, find a way to do that yourself. It's important. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Korrenzo, I end all my podcasts with the same 5 questions I ask everybody that comes on for the first time ever.
Okay.
My first question is, do you have any biggest regrets, or do you have anything that you would think your future self would regret not doing?
Ooh, I wasn't ready for that one. My biggest regret. If I could say, my biggest regret, I would say, is I felt like, and I keep referring back to the book because I did talk about this in there. I felt like I came out at the wrong time. I think that I should have waited until I was a little bit more emotionally strong. I was not ready. I did when I thought I was ready, but I was not. Because had just one little piece of my life been different, I don't know what would have happened to me. But I think I should have waited until I had gotten myself together more emotionally. Not necessarily financially, not necessarily any other way, but mentally. I don't think I was ready for what was coming. And if I could go back and do anything different, I would do it a little bit later. I would have gotten myself prepared. Because I wasn't ready.
Yeah. Who has made the biggest impact in your life?
Ooh. Wow, that's one person?
It doesn't have to be one person. Nah.
Okay. So obviously my husband is one. He's the one who encouraged me to even step out and share all of this with everyone. And it's more than that, but just the fact that he does encourage me and support me in everything that I do. I would say that he's probably at the top of my list. But also when I think about, writers who told their stories, like Elin Harris was one of the first novels that I read that had a gay character who was from a Christian background. And he's since passed on, or otherwise I would have definitely found a way to send him a copy. But there's another author named James Earl Hardy who wrote a series of books that have black gay male characters at the forefront. And they're also Christian. And I really could see myself in those books. So they are like two of the writers and two of the artists who really helped me to see that I could exist outside of what I knew. And outside of that, I would say my mom's family. From the time I came out, my mom's family was there for me 100%. Her sisters, her nieces, her nephews, everybody, they rallied around me. And I didn't talk about them as much in the book as I should have, but they were like the first people to buy it when it came out. They were like, we want to read it. And so, like, those people who made me feel seen and who let me know that being myself was okay had the biggest impact. Because I feel like in the environment that I was always in, I never would have gotten that. But those people provided outlets for me.
Yeah. What would you tell somebody who's like struggling with that, like struggling with trying to support somebody and they don't know how to support them exactly?
You know, when it comes to that, I would say just listen. You don't always have to go to anybody and have the answers. You know, as a department head, you know the Navy. I've been on ships and my last ship, and people come to me with all kinds of stuff, and I don't always know what to tell them. But sometimes people just need somebody to listen. And it's not always people from my division, my department, my whatever, but you're who they feel comfortable with at that time. And I'm not a therapist, but I will sit here and listen to you all day if I think it's going to help. If you're trying to support somebody and you're trying to be there for somebody to help somebody get through something, sometimes you just need to listen. You don't have to talk. You don't have to have the answer. You might just have to tell them, I don't have the answer, but tell me what's on your mind. I will help you find somebody who has the answer.
I hear you.
Because really, in most cases, that's what most people really are looking for. You know, we're looking for somebody to hear us and not come to us and tell us what we should do, but just let us get it off our chest.
No judgment. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we need more of that. We don't have enough.
Yeah, even therapists get something called compassion fatigue. Yeah. It's like, man, I'm tired of being so compassionate.
Yeah, because my husband, he's a mental health therapist, and I think, sometimes when he comes, because he works for himself, thank God, but sometimes he comes downstairs at the end of the day and he's like, I'm just worn out, and I'm like, well, what's going on? And obviously he can't tell me what's happened, but he's like, I've just been giving all day. I have nothing left, and I'm like, okay, well, come on, just sit here with me, and. But I understand that now. I didn't get it at first. I didn't get it. I'm like, well, why are you so tired? You work from home. You don't have to get up and go anywhere. But now I get that what he means is it's mentally exhausting. And I get that now.
Yeah.
I get that now. I didn't always understand that.
Korrenzo, if you had the chance to time travel and say one thing to your younger self at their lowest, darkest point, what would you tell him?
Do not marry that first guy. No, I'm just kidding. I would probably tell myself, I would tell myself that you are going to find the love that you need, but that you're going to find it in yourself. I didn't always love myself. I didn't always love myself. There was a time where I felt like I didn't deserve anything and that I wasn't worthy of true happiness because of everything I had been taught. I felt like I was such a sinful, disgusting person that I didn't deserve to have any of the things that I actually wanted. I remember that feeling. And if I could go back and tell myself that I'm going to find it, I would do that. And I wouldn't tell myself how, because I feel like you still need to go through the journey. I still needed to go through everything that I've gone through. That all was important. And I don't regret any of that. But I would tell myself to keep pushing, and that what I'm looking for, I'm going to find. And I have found it. I have been able to find the peace and love in myself that I was looking for. And because I have that, now I can be a good husband. I was a terrible husband. I mean, I thought I did the best I could by keeping a clean house and cooking and all that. But that doesn't make you a husband. That just makes you a good house. That makes you a good housekeeper.
House husband.
Yeah, that just makes you a good housekeeper. That doesn't make you a good husband. But when I can sit down and listen to what my husband is saying, when I can hold him when he's afraid of something or when something has been a lot for him, when I can trust him emotionally to take care of me, that's when I have really become a good husband. I was not able to do that in my first marriage because I didn't know how. But I've since learned to do that, and it came from finding peace in myself, which I also didn't have in my first marriage. And that's why I say, like, I was not a good husband. I was terrible. But we both were. Neither one of us knew how to really be open with somebody else. And that made the marriage toxic. It was bad. But now I can really like share everything with Ray, and I can listen and be open-minded to him. And he can tell me, babe, you shouldn't have done that, or you shouldn't have said that. And I won't get angry. I'll like listen and be like, you know what? You actually might be right. That's being a good husband.
It doesn't feel like an attack or something. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's both ways. We both can do that. But to me, that's what makes me, that's how I'm a good husband now. Everything else is just a bonus.
If somebody is currently struggling with loving themselves, what would you tell them?
Go pick up a copy of Korrenzo versus Scooby, available on Amazon right now. No. The first thing I'm going to say, and this may not be the ideal answer, but you got to go through that. I think everybody has to find a way to love themselves outside of what they've been taught. Because what we're taught growing up and who we actually become could be two completely different things. So what I'll say to that is, you got to find out who you are first. Figure out who that person is. You can't love them until you know who they are. Once you do that, try to understand yourself. What do you like? What do you not like? Why do you not like it? Why do you like it? Get to know yourself. Spend time with yourself. And if there's a reason you don't love yourself, try to find out why. But it's a journey. And that's why I said earlier, if I could go back and tell myself everything that's going to happen, I probably wouldn't. Because the journey to get here makes it all worth it. So I believe that the journey to loving yourself is just as important as loving yourself. You got to understand all the experiences. And why is that important? Because you got to be able to share it with somebody else. If I don't have any experience on this journey to get here, I don't have anything to tell anybody. So
yeah,
I think that's what I'd say.
The journey is the most important part, not the destination.
Yeah, I definitely believe that. So I would say that, you've got to go through it because we all do in our own ways. I mean, would you say that you have?
to love myself.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I think when you really start taking care of yourself, and making yourself a priority for things that, that you feel like you need to show up in the world, I think that's a good indicator that you're starting to love yourself.
Yeah, I agree.
Brush your damn teeth.
not to flip the interview around, but I mean, you've got young kids. So, like,
Yeah.
what can you pour into them if you haven't filled your own cup to share with them? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As a father, how do you
Yeah.
do that if you haven't gone on this, this journey of figuring out who Thomas is and how to love him and teach the girls? How would you have done that if you
Mm-hmm.
hadn't gone through something similar? It may not have been the same thing, or it may not have been a trip that was as long, but it was something.
Yeah. Yeah. Korrenzo, is there, if you had all the time and all the money you ever needed, what would you be doing?
Oh wow. I would be seeing all of the world. I love I love traveling. I would be going to see the world. But helping people along the way. I think at this point now we see that like having all the money in the world really doesn't do much for you if you're not doing something
Right.
positive with it, It's so my selfish part of that would be just traveling everywhere and seeing everything, other cultures, other kinds of people, and just going everywhere. But outside of that, I would probably be trying to find ways to help people, and not just one particular community, but anybody. That would be what I would be doing.
Yeah, I always ask this question because to me, I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs too, and it's like a lot of them just think in like financially terms. It's like, oh, like how can I scale this business up? Like just money, money, money. And it's like, okay, what if that problem was solved and that you didn't have to worry about money? I think it helps people get to an answer into uh, thinking outside of themselves more.
Yeah, because I mean, after a while, when you get to a certain level financially, I mean, does it really matter anymore? Like,
Mm-hmm.
once you get to a place where you don't have to worry about paying bills, it's kind of like, all right, well, I can go anywhere, I can do anything. So, I mean, it's just to get more, just to say you have it. And then it's like, all right, well,
Mm-hmm.
cool. It's not really as impressive to me as people would like to think it is. So,
There's no like purpose and behind it. Yeah.
yeah. But that's,
What do you think? What
some
kind of work would you be doing?
I would probably be doing what I want to do when I retire anyway. I want to be a marriage and family therapist. So I would probably still be doing that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I already started that degree, but I went back on sea duty, so I couldn't finish it. But I want to finish it once I get off sea duty. And when I retire, that's what I want to do. I love the idea of talking to couples and families and helping them work through their issues. I love it. So
Man,
that's what
that's
I
like
want to
the
do.
opposite of the therapist that I want to become.
Yeah, that's where my heart is
I just
because
want to be one on one.
I think it's cool, but like
Yeah.
when you work with a whole family, you get to the root of issues. You find out what's affecting everybody and how that's filtering into kids and how it's
Generational
filtering into
trauma.
everybody. Absolutely. That's the kind of stuff I want to do. I would love it. But I also want to work with couples too, because I mean, I've been through a couple
Yeah.
bad relationships, and I think I know enough about a man to be able to talk to somebody
Toxic.
about their yeah. So I would love to do that. That's what I want to do once this Navy thing is over with. I would love to do that.
You're almost done.
I'm almost there. I'm trudging along. 6 more years. Whew,
Where are
Jesus,
you
six
going
more years.
next?
I don't know.
Do you
I'm
know
waiting
where
to
you're
find
going?
out. No, I'm waiting to find out.
Not yet.
Not yet. So we'll see.
Korrenzo, is there anything that you want to get off your chest that you'd like to share with whoever's listening right now?
No, this was the first the first podcast that I've done in promotion for the book, and I really have enjoyed it. I've enjoyed this conversation. I just want to tell anybody that's listening that there's hope. If I can get here, I think anybody can get here. Because at one point, emotionally, I was down bad. And I found my way out. And I think anybody else can too. But you got to be able to appreciate those times when you don't feel your best. Because I do now. Yeah, that would be the biggest thing that I would say. And, you know, go get a copy of my book and read it. Because I think it's great.
Yeah. Where can people, you know, go buy your book? I got it on, if you are subscribed to Kindle Unlimited, I actually got it. That's how I read it.
Yeah, it's
Kindle
there.
Unlimited.
It's available on Amazon, Korrenzo versus Scooby. I have a website, www.korrenzo.com. You can go there. You can subscribe to my my mailing list where I'm going to talk about other promo that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to add this podcast for my mailing list when it comes out. There's a launch that's going to be here in Norfolk in a couple of weeks, in a month or so, next month. And there's a lot of stuff I'm trying to line up to really get this book out there. I just want the word out there. I want someone to read it and for it to help them. So all the information is going to be available. And I also have an Instagram page, Korrenzo versus Scooby, all the things. It's all there. But yeah.
Thanks, Korrenzo.
Thank you. Thank you so much.